Wish I could say that I could forget about it. I'm going for everything.
With the sparkling beauty of the lights of the Vegas Strip serving as a backdrop, the Indy Racing League is minutes away from a championship race. The Las Vegas 500K on the 1.5-mile Las Vegas Speedway. Two men fight for the crown. With 254 points, Tony Stewart. 15 of those points gained by leading laps in 7 races and sitting on the pole in 5. He has only won once. 10 points back is Davey Hamilton. All of his points gained by consistent finishes. He's never won. To win the championship, Stewart will try and stay 8th or better. If he does, he wins. But in the past 11 races, Stewart has failed to finish 6 times. For Davey Hamilton, it's much easier. He simply has to drive to win. So, Tom Sneva, here in Vegas, we're seeing some gambling.
Well, we're going to see it today. The strategy between these two is going to be quite different, especially early in the race, Paul. Tony's leading the deal. He's got to be a lot more conservative. If they were on the blackjack table, both having 16s and the dealer was showing a 7, Tony's got to pass. He can't afford to hit. But obviously, Davey, he's got to go for it. He's going to hit that. He might even split 10s, maybe double down on a blackjack.
All right, well, let's meet the contenders. We start with Gary Gerald.
In the 2-year history of the IRL, unquestionably, nobody has dominated like Tony Stewart. He's led all but 2 of the 12 events in 2 years. He, this year alone, has led 40% of all the laps, but his lead is just that 10 points over Hamilton. And just a few minutes ago, I asked him if, in fact, he would have to take a conservative stance to win the championship.
Well, we've kind of planned ahead a little bit just on the conservative side, just to make sure that if it does come up, we kind of planned ahead for it with the setup. So, you know, right now the wind's died down quite a bit compared to what it was about an hour or 2 ago. So, you know, right now we feel like we got the right setup on the car, and if the wind comes up, we feel like we're prepared for it.
Consider at his young age, he's already won 22 championships in his amazing career. He's no stranger to this pressure. Jan Beekes?
Well, Gary, Davey Hamilton is also no stranger to championship battles. In his young career, he has already won 11 championships, but like we said, he has never won in the IRL. Earlier, I also asked him his strategy for tonight's race.
Well, you have to go for it. It's going to be a good night, I think. The wind's died down a little bit. It's a cool night. Should be pretty fast for the motors, and it's 31 cars out there though, and we need 10 spots ahead of Tony, and I got to be a little aggressive, but we have to finish this thing. So it's going to be quite a night.
The odds may certainly be against Davey Hamilton in tonight's race, but think about the fact that he lives only 5 miles from here. So maybe home court advantage will come into play. The edges are coming to life. Paul?
2 very different men. Stewart, fiery, aggressive, a Hoosier. Idaho's Hamilton, smiling, relaxed, but with a safe but fast approach to racing. Between the 2, they have held 33 different championship titles, but the IRL crown would be the biggest yet for each. Now, let's take a look at the starting field. 31 cars make up the field. 28 carry the Aurora engine. The rest are Infinity. The front row belongs to A.J. Foyt's cars. Phoenix's Billy Boat with his first pole. He becomes the 7th different pole sitter in 13 races. And Boise's Davey Hamilton with championship hopes. The second row cars are owned by John Menard. Indy's Tony Stewart, the points leader. And Miami's Robbie Buell, who won the last race in New England. In row 3, Chile's Eliseo Salazar, the 2nd fastest man in the final practice. The fastest in that session was the Indy 500 champion, the Dutchman, Arie Luyendyk, who starts on the outside. Row 4, Georgia's Jimmy Kite, the fastest rookie, and Scott Goodyear. The 5th row, Mark Dismore and Marco Greco. In row 6, Alfonso Giafone of Brazil, and the Scotsman, Jeff Ward, who runs a motocross school here at Las Vegas Speedway. In row 7, Kenny Breck. And the 96 Indy champion, newlywed Buddy Lazier. In row 9, Vincenzo Sospiri and Stefan Gregoire. 9th row, Indiana's Jack Miller with the fastest of the 3 Infinity-powered cars and the likable Roberto Guerrero. The 10th row, the Phoenix winner, Jim Guthrie and Paul Durant. In row 11, Texan Greg Ray and Denver's Buzz Calkins, an IRL co-champion from last year. Row 12, Sam Schmidt from here in the Las Vegas area and Tice Carlson. Row 13, John Paul Jr. and Stan Waddles. In the 14th row, Billy Rowe and Robbie Groff. Row 15, Ohio's Mike Shank and Eddie Cheever, the winner at Walt Disney World. Alone in row 16 is Johnny Unser. Now, Paul Durant was involved in an accident in the 10 car yesterday, and as a result, he's moved to the backup car. As a result of that, he goes to the back of the field, and everybody else comes forward. There's Paul Durant. He'll start all the way in the back. Now, the weather has not been so good today. Very high winds, and even the possibility of showers here in the desert. But it's clearing up now. The winds have died down quite a bit. The temperature is still a little cool at 59 degrees. In fact, there are a lot of questions being asked about what that will do to tire temperatures on these machines. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, track temperature right now is 70 degrees. That's very cool, particularly for Las Vegas. The drivers have been concerned about this wind. The winds, at least down here on pit road right now, have died down considerably. That is a welcome change, but they're still concerned about blowing sand, and sand that came in a couple of hours ago when high winds, 35, 40 miles an hour, buffeted this entire facility. Whether or not they can blow all that off, whether there'll be 1 line, 2 lines through the corners, I think that's one of the keys that's on every driver's mind as they take these warm-up laps. Jan?
Well, Gary, obviously tire temperatures are going to be crucial today, and that is why the IRL officials have decided when they turn these guys loose, it'll be under yellow flag conditions. You talked about the track temperature of being 70 degrees, the ambient about 52. The problem is the track temperature is not too bad. Goodyear and Firestone were prepared for that, but the actual air temperature tends to cool down the surface of these tires and make it very, very slick. So they're hoping to get tire temperature before they go green. Paul?
Well, we've got a nice array of onboard cameras for you. Roberto Guerrero in the 21 Pennzoil car. He's coming out on sticker tires and trying to get them warm. There's Kenny Breck. He drives for Rick Gallis. Up ahead is Mark Dismore, great go-kart provider. Started his racing career in go-karts. Scott Goodyear, the Canadian, twice has almost won the Indy 500. And then up at the front, in the second row on the inside, there is Tony Stewart, the points leader. Just ahead of him, that A.J. Foyt row, Billy Boat.
I don't know.
And that's Davey Hamilton.
Hey, Tony, when the pace car pulls off the next time, that's when you get to go to get your tires warmed up. They don't want you guys to improve your position.
That's Larry Curry talking to his driver, and that's exactly what Jan Bikas suggested.
Yeah, exactly. What's happening, they're concerned about the temperature. They're going to get the pace car off, let them get some temperature in those tires, let them speed up a little bit, try to generate some heat, and then bring the pace car back on and go for the start.
Decision just made by the race director, Brian Barnhart of the IRL, in the interest of safety. Johnny Rutherford, driving the pace car, will pull off. They will display a yellow flag to the field. They will start counting laps. Now, Rutherford will actually take them all the way into turn 1 before he comes off.
Time by. He will pick you up at the end of the 5th time by.
And then what they will do is they'll start counting laps, but they'll wait until the drivers themselves say, we think our tire temperatures are up and we're ready to go racing. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we will see the green flag that takes us on this final run of the season and determines the IRL championship.
The Indy Racing League at Las Vegas, brought to you by Oldsmobile and your authorized Aurora retailers. Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil. True value, no matter what you need, help is just around the corner. And Firestone, America's tire since 1900.
Well, the field comes back into formation. While we've been away, they've set themselves up to try to get some temperature in the tires. So interestingly enough, they weren't really running all that quick, so they seem to be satisfied with it as they come onto the backstretch behind the pace car now. We've already started scoring this race. As a matter of fact, 2 laps are complete, but we'll see our first racing lap here.
Yeah, I think they might have been over-concerned. You know, it used to be when you had one tire manufacturer, you had more concern about temperature in the tires. Now that we got Goodyear and Firestone battling each other, they build a little softer tire that's more responsive to temperature. So it's probably not as key of a factor as it used to be with one tire manufacturer out there.
The voice is that of the IRL command channel as here we go with the battle for the championship. They head down toward the green flag on a track that is very wide and affords a lot of opportunity to go racing. Green is out. Here we go. Both Hamilton side by side. Everybody crowds up behind Stewart and Robbie Buell. Salazar was looking for racing room there. Salazar comes up and challenges Stewart. Comes around Stewart on the outside. Down the backstretch. That 35 car, that's Jeff Ward. Why is Stewart dropping back? And Buell jumps into the lead. There is Buddy Lazier, and suddenly he slows down. Whoa, what an interesting start.
Lazier's heading for the pits. He's got some kind of serious problem.
Well, you have to wonder about Stewart. Because Hamilton jumped into the lead. Jeff Ward came up there, and then Robbie Buell dropped into 3rd place. Well, Stewart's fallen back. There he is, in that bright yellow and orange 2 car.
Yeah, but I think it's just being real conservative. He's in a position where he can only hurt himself, so I think he's just being very cautious.
Fight at the front here. There's Jeff Ward. Comes down inside the leader. Side by side, they run through the corners. Buell in that green car comes up, tries to join this battle, and Jeff Ward forges into the lead.
Well, that's pretty awesome right there, Paul. This guy starts 12th, and he's leading in a very short amount of time.
Now we're looking at the battle for 2nd place as Eliseo Salazar comes under Billy Boat, moves in. Look how wide the track is. Here's Stewart. He's rejoined the fight. Stewart works on Boat. You may be right. It may have just been a conservative run. So the lead tends to resolve itself with Jeff Ward just running away, and there goes Salazar under Hamilton. Here comes Stewart trying to get Hamilton as well. Hamilton has to keep Stewart well behind him.
Well, it's early enough. He doesn't have to be that concerned about it right there, but you can see Tony's, he's not forcing anything right now. He had the option to go underneath Davey that last lap, and he decided to use his head.
Well, we've been watching for Lazier. He's finally going to roll to a stop on the track. Jan Beekes, what's the score?
Yellow flag car 91 in the backstretch. Pace car, move out. Pace car, move out. 35 your leader. 35. Slow it down. Slow it down. 35. 30.
That's the voice of IRL control. Jan?
Buddy Lazier has been having a problem with the drive line. There's no drive to the rear wheels. The engine is running fine, but something in the gearbox in the drive line area is gone. He has no power. He's done.
Well, that brings out the first real yellow of the race. He's over on the backside of this track. They'll have to hook him up and get him around, but obviously it's no problem since there's no power going to the rear wheels anyway.
Well, you saw Buddy either practicing his lasso motion or he's, not real happy with what happened at the start of this race.
Buddy Lazier just got married to his longtime girlfriend, Kara. And a lot of racers were at that wedding. It was a hot time in Colorado. So we're under our first yellow of the day with Jeff Ward as the leader over Robbie Buell. Lazier has been taken into the pits under tow. We're ready to go back to the green flag again, and it's Jeff Ward that leads him to the green. Salazar in 3rd place there. Came up on the back end of Robbie Buell and then thought better of passing him before they got to the line.
Davey got a little bit of a jump on Tony right there, and it looks like he's going to get back by him.
You got a glimpse there of that bright red and yellow car. That's Ari Lyondike driving the MyJack livery here. There he is. He runs side by side with Davey Hamilton. New colors for that car for this race. Billy Boat closes on his teammate. That's Roberto Guerrero in the yellow Pennzoil car. working on his teammate. Ray down low, the black car.
There's Eddie Cheever on the outside. Eddie didn't even get qualified. Had to start way towards the back and is coming right through the ranks.
Back to the battle for second place. 31 cars started here. Largest field, not counting the Indy 500. Of course, always starts a traditional 33. Oh, look at that group.
Well, a lot of good stuff here. A lot of side-by-side stuff. What happens when you start 31 cars out here? Drivers have two things to race against. One's the racetrack, and the other is the traffic. And sometimes the traffic is more fun to race against than the racetrack itself.
Eddie Cheever, the red, white, and blue 51 car, just came around Alfonso Giafone. He started 30th. He's working his way up through this field very quickly. He is now 12th.
Greg Ray in that black car, Paul, he started back and he's going towards the front.
Well, Jan Vick, it seems like we have something new to the sport every race we have. We have something new right now.
That's right. Buddy Lazier has climbed from his car, but Buddy, there was a chance they'd be able to fix your car because there's a new rule. You can bring it behind the wall and work on it, but they can't fix the gearbox.
That's right. It's real disappointing because we had not a very good qualifying run, but you know, coming out of turn 2, there was only about 4 cars in front of me, so we got a really great start, about 10 cars up high. The car felt really great, and all of a sudden it just stopped running. And then I got it to run again going down the back straightaway, and then there's no drive to the wheels, none. And regardless of what gear I was in, thought maybe they could fix us and get us out, even if we'd be several laps down, but there's no chance. It's very, very deep, the problem. So.
Well, I know you don't want to end the season this way, but thanks.
Thank you.
Continuing to keep an eye on Eddie Cheever. Also moving well in the early going here is Mark Dismore, who is now up in 4th place in the 28 car.
Mark's done a real good job. Buddy talked about the problem that's very deep. You know, that could be interpreted in a lot of ways, but he had a little bit of a smile on his face. What usually happens when the car is good and it's going to go towards the front, that's when it breaks. You know, when it's a bad car, it, you know, a lot of times it'll run all day and you're a little depressed by the time it really breaks.
Giafone to the inside there finally has to give way as they go side by side. That black number 97 is Greg Ray.
Greg was quick. The black car was quick in the practice session last night. And again, they're taking that thing towards the front of the grid.
Now Ray works with Cheever. Well, very little work there. It's like Cheever, move it over.
Well, Eddie, you know, there's a seasoned veteran. It's early in the race, and he isn't going to fight him at this point. But Eddie had a good practice session and started this race going to the front. But now, obviously, he's got some kind of gremlin in that thing that's caused him to back it up a little.
Giafone comes around him in the GM of Brazil, number 17 car. Leader remains Ward, unchallenged by the second place Robbie Buell. Salazar is 3rd. Mark Dismore up in 4th.
Well, this is Alfonso. You know, this guy is a good racer. He had some great Indy Light stuff, and you know, with a little more budget, this guy is going to be at the front of these packs.
Back up at the front, the 35 Tabasco car. That's Jeff Ward, motocross champion. And very interesting guy who has had a very tough year. Ended up subbing for Davy Jones at the first race of this year at Walt Disney World. Finished 3rd at the Indianapolis 500. And
had a good shot to win at Indy, and you know, now it's a little bit of a cliche, but the Tabasco car is pretty hot right now.
Jeff Ward in front of Robbie Buell. Gary Gerald?
Paul, an update on Davey Hamilton, one of your championship contenders. Remember, he started in the front row. Right now, he's back in 11th spot. The car's gone loose. They tell me that they're going to go to the 6th gear, put it in cruise control, hope that they can make it to their first pit stop and then improve handling. But A.J. Foyt says it's a long race. We're going to play it conservative early. But clearly, this is a disappointment for Hamilton.
Already Jeff Ward begins to overwhelm part of the field. There is Hamilton, the 14 Power Team car. Well, if anybody can work a car through the field, A.J. Foyt and his crew, headed up there by Tommy LeMans, they know how to get that thing done.
Well, it's a little frustrating, though. They've got a segment to go here, and when the car is loosening up this quick, you know, if you got your choice, you'd rather have the front end start pushing rather than the back end start twitching, I think, because that will get your attention.
25 laps of the 208 scheduled distance already into the record book. 28 of the cars that started this race powered by the Oldsmobile Aurora engine, and that's an upgrade production. Keep an eye on Cheever, and now Giaffoni begin to work Hamilton, but again, he still just wants to keep it on the lead lap right now.
Well, he's got to keep it between the fences, and it's not fun for him right now, but he's got to leg it and put up with it till the next segment.
The Oldsmobile Aurora, I was saying, in the pace cars, same one that from the production value is on the track. Of course, it's modified for racing. The Las Vegas 500 continues after this message and a word from our ABC stations. This is Paul Page. We're back in Las Vegas, obviously under the yellow. While we were away, nothing changed in the order, but then suddenly Greg Ray, the black car, got into trouble.
Yeah, he's trying to get by Buzz on the high side. It didn't look like he got out of the groove. It doesn't look like the track's that dusty, so it's really hard to say. Obviously, it pushes up. He rolls out of the throttle, but you can see the wheel and tire and the front suspension all leaving. And look at the wheel separated from the tire. You don't see that often, so it might indicate that he might have been losing air pressure, and that could have started that problem.
Ready to go back to the green flag. Most of the cars made stops. It didn't really change the order.
Control. Green flag, green flag.
Jeff Ward remained the leader. Perhaps the greatest effect was Eddie Cheever, who came in the pits in 8th, fell back to 16. So it's Ward, Buell, Dismore, Lyondike, Salazar, and Goodyear as they go back green. Salazar lined up behind Lyondike in the red and yellow car. And look at him just cruise on past.
Well, that was a good pass on Airy right there. That car obviously is working, and especially the first few laps after it goes green when the tires are a little bit cooler.
Other car you occasionally see in the mix is Mark Dismore. Right on board for a second there.
Well, Mark's having a good race. He's ran right up front from the very beginning. He moved up early, and the car's pretty solid right now.
And the black flag unfurled at the start-finish line, and it's for the leader, Jeff Ward. Black flag came in. Of course, that's just, they're going to assess a penalty of some sort for a pit speed violation. He doesn't need really to slow down all the way in the back. Now, this is just a cruise-through violation. Got to go through the pits, but he's got to keep the 80-mile-an-hour speed limit. I wouldn't have slowed down way back there.
Well, I'll tell you what, one thing the IRL's done is they've done a good job of not making the penalties too severe. A lot of times in the past, he would have had to come to a complete stop in the pit. That could have ruined the race completely. Here they're just going to make him drive through at 80. It's going to be a penalty of track position, obviously, but he won't get a lap down.
So Robbie Buell assumes the lead of the race as the previous leader. Jeff Ward picks it up, nails the throttle, and comes back up to speed. He'll come up and join the track alongside the Crest car of Jack Miller. So it's Buell, Dismore, Salazar, Lyondike, and Scott Goodyear, the top 5 now. There's your leader, the Quaker State car. Now, we did have a whole series of stops on the 39th lap. Let's see if we can summarize them a bit. Gary?
Significant changes, Paul. We'll start with Tony Stewart. They went to the option tire. That's a softer compound. They're looking for more grip. They also took out a turn of wing. The car was starting to go loose. No changes for Robbie Buell. Billy Boat had a half spin exiting pit road, but didn't lose too much position. And for Davey Hamilton, the other title contender, major changes. Took out 2 full turns of wing, hoping to get some handling back in that car.
Well, in the meantime, we see Mark Dismore is caught up with Buell. Looks like he's going to make a run for the front.
Dismore comes alongside, looking for the lead.
That's tough down low. You tend to pinch the car, and if it's close to neutral or loose at all, it's just really on the ragged edge right there.
Dismore All of his life a racer in that red and white 28 car. Started in go-karts. In fact, one of the top, if not the top, sales agency for go-karts in the country out of his place in Greenfield, Indiana. And look at him hang on to Robbie Buell.
Well, Robbie's in that high groove, obviously, right up there where Greg Ray had a problem. So it's not really dusty up there, and that high groove seems to be a little bit quicker right now.
So Dismore, for the moment, falls back, and they begin to look ahead to traffic, so they'll be back in a traffic situation very quickly here. Don't forget ABC's coverage of college football continues Saturday, when you'll see one of 4 great matchups live at 3:30 Eastern. Check your local listing for the games in your area and call your cable operator for information on games available on pay-per-view.
Well, Dismore just caught Buell in the middle of a traffic situation. He was able to get underneath enough to get Buell to roll out of the throttle. So it was a good move by Mark to foresee that traffic situation.
Well, the fight continues up at the front of this field. Now Dismore, Buell in pursuit. Salazar, and here comes Lyondike. So the front 4 and very quickly the front 5 all running together.
Well, this is fun to see. These cars are very, very equal. I mean, a lot of these guys are getting the handle on these chassis, and they're all running very fast.
Barely 0.2 of a second. With 54 laps complete, the stops all came on the 39th lap. Race summary to this point. Now Buell, of course, the leader. Average speed up at 194. The race record from last year at 200 laps, 115 miles an hour. So with that comparison, they are flying. Here comes both, challenging Goodyear, and takes 5th away from him. Out of race, Greg Ray with the accident. And Buddy Lazier, of course, had the problem in the gearbox right in the opening laps.
Well, Billy Boat in the Conseco blue and white car there had a real incident coming out of the pits. Did a half spin. Fortunately, there was some pavement for him to hunt, and he hunted it, and it didn't cost him as much as it could have.
Scott Goodyear, the Nortel car.
You can hear the engine pitch just change tone just a little bit as he entered the corner. These guys are using a lot of throttle around this place.
In a night racing, of course, something new with the IRL. They've had 2 this year, one at the new Speedway in Texas, north of Fort Worth, and one at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The cars really look great under the lights. There's the lineup. 55 complete. Mark Dismore leading his first laps in the IRL. Paul Page with Tom Sneva back at Las Vegas Speedway. The Las Vegas 500K, a little over 310 miles, 208 laps. Your leader is Mark Dismore, 28 car, leading for the very first time in his career, and beginning now to pull away from second place, Robbie Buell. Dismore has been apparently communicating back and forth on the radio with his crew. Jan Bikas?
They have, and in fact, Paul, when they came in to make that pit stop, when everyone else did, they made a front wing change. He had a little bit of push or understeer in traffic. They added some front wing, and now Dismore obviously is extremely happy, and he's flying. He loves the balance of the car now, and it shows.
Oh, we got trouble. Backspin.
Oh, big trouble.
Leader. He's in
Sam
turn
Schmidt.
4.
There's the doctor.
To the track.
Buzz Coughlin in the red car down there in the grass. So at least 3 guys involved.
The 40 car, Crest. That's Jack Miller.
And the yellow car you see up the track a little bit, that's the Sam Schmidt. I'm not sure how it started. We'll be able to see that shortly, but there's Sam. He's got the visor up. It looks like he's moving around.
Slow it down, 28. Slow it down. Give the pace car a little bit room to pick you up.
Under the yellow flag, Johnny
Pace car,
Rutherford in the pace car
cars
picks up the field.
3 cars, the 4th
And the IRL safety crew is there. Jack Miller gets out of the car.
20.
You wondered, it looked like he didn't turn much once he got on the grass. You can't turn much.
No, it's a lot like why the brakes don't work when you're upside down, you know?
Climbs in between those Musco lights here.
Well,
that's my theory, you know. I'm the one that proved that. The brakes are ineffective when the car is upside down. That's my deal.
Experience.
Now
teaches you that.
You have all deals over 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
So Schmidt's 99 car, and he's out. Apparently okay. Heavy damage to the back.
Well, you can see Sam, the yellow car's already spun coming off the corner, and it's probably hit the wall. The right rear tire's gone, rolling down the racetrack, and these guys are just looking for places to go. Jack gets her down in the grass. He can't turn it at that point, and he was lucky he didn't have closer to head-on contact with the Schmidt car. Buzz, he's just down there trying to dodge stuff.
What this battle will do for the previous leader of the race, Jeff Ward, is help close the field up and give him a chance. He's now in 16th place. And remember, we had the incident with Greg Ray earlier. Jan Beekes, he's out in the pits again?
Yes, he's back in street clothes now, Paul. He's back in the garage area. The good thing you're okay. But, Greg, what happened?
Well, I mean, it's really unfortunate to have an accident. You know, we had so many problems in practice and qualifying, just never got the car right. And we finally got the car right in warm-up, and we were 4th quick. And we were marching our way to the front. In 30 laps, we went from 20th to 8th place. And I was lapping some car for the 2nd time, and you know, again, being very cautious and conservative. And you know, I thought he saw me, and you know, going through turn 2, he just seemed to move up, and I had nowhere to go, and I got in the gray, and from there it was over.
Are you set for next year? You've had such an on and off year, but some really bright moments.
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of sponsors and a lot of other teams and things, and I think you know, the main thing, Tom Knapp and I are trying to stay as a package and put a deal together for next year, and there's a lot of opportunity there, and hopefully we can find some of it.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
Well, as they came to that, go ahead, Tom.
Well, it was interesting to hear Greg talk. You know, last year it was a dust problem here, and this year it didn't indicate any of the dust situation, but he did get up in the marbles, the loose stuff, and when that happens, you're just the passenger looking for something to hit.
On this last accident, here was the leader, Mark Dismore's point of view.
Well, he's got stuff to dodge right there. He has shrapnel on the racetrack. He gets by that without getting into the grass. Some of the guys weren't that fortunate. They had to make a big enough maneuver to get it down in the grass, and then they became a problem.
Join us here on ABC tomorrow night when the Dallas for the times in your area. Under yellow, Dismore leads. Mark Dismore, the leader. Scott Goodyear in 2nd. Kenny Breck 3rd. Battle has revolved around a battle for 5th place. Marco Greco trying to hold off Eddie Cheever. Jim Guthrie is just behind Cheever. You got a glimpse of him in the jacuzzi car. "77 laps complete." Ari Lyondike out of this race, Jan Beekes.
All right, we understand that it was electrical problems for you, but what about the track conditions before that?
Track conditions are great. Yeah, we were just, you know, we were just kind of cruising around and holding our own, and the car was handling wonderful. The track is good, so a problem in the engine.
We've seen a couple of cars on pit road with electrical problems. Why do you think that'd be happening so late in the season with the Aurora engines?
Our problem was not an electrical problem. It was just an engine problem. Something broke in it, and it's just a shame, you know, when you're running that good and when you're running as conservative as I was with a shot at the end, then it's too bad. But this is the last race of the year. It's always, you know, bad to go on a note like this.
Who looks like the guy to beat out there tonight?
There's several guys running very good. Mark Dismore's running good, and Billy Boat. And, I think it all comes down to good pit stop strategy and track position and full mileage maybe.
Thanks, Harry.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, Marco Greco suddenly pulls down off of the pace in that battle with Eddie Cheever and Jim Guthrie. Jim, by the way, currently is leading in the Rookie of the Year battle, the winner at the Phoenix race. What happened to Greco?
Well, he's heading towards the pits right now.
Well, it could be routine. They are getting into the envelope for the next set of stops. In fact, the leader due in probably within a lap or so. So assume he was off with no problem. You actually join the pits over on the backstretch on this track at Las Vegas Speedway. So you got to get on the brakes sometime before you get on that lane.
Well, some of the guys didn't pit on that last yellow, trying to stretch it and then maybe eliminate a pit stop before this race is over.
So the order's staggered on the track. You get to see in the dark the flames coming out of those twin exhausts on these cars. The Aurora engine kicking those out. 28th, the leader, Mark Dismore, leads for the first time in his career. And he should be due into the pits just any time now.
Here we got the battle between Stewart and Boat right there. Boat going by on the underneath side fairly easily.
And this is not helping Davey Hamilton because both Ward and Boat were able to get around Hamilton and now are battling with Stewart, and not much of a battle for Boat. Meanwhile, here is Jim Guthrie working on Eddie Cheever, the fight for fifth.
Underneath, made it look pretty easy, and I don't know if Cheever's having a handling problem. That thing's starting to drift back as the tires get hot. The chassis goes away a little bit.
On a place like this, is the fuel load make a lot of difference when they have staggered stops, when they get into those kind of fights?
Well, it could, but I don't see that as far as a speed characteristic. That, you know, one of them might be quarter full and the other one might be half full, so I wouldn't think it would be a fuel load situation.
Watching for the leader who should head in shortly. There's Salazar. Now under attack from Jim Guthrie. This fight is for fourth place. Kenny Brett is up in third place, just ahead, about 2 seconds ahead on the racetrack.
We saw a little dust coming up there from the bottom side of that racetrack. Somebody's hustling her. But it's interesting to watch as the segment goes on. Some guys are strong at the beginning of the segment, and then they start backing up as the fuel load goes down and the handling goes away a little bit. But Guthrie here seems to be going quicker with every lap, and the longer he runs, the better that car feels.
Remember that great run for Jim Guthrie at Phoenix? Wife Missy in tears on the stand as he took his first IRL victory. Now that's Johnny Unser in the 9 car that's just come into the picture. He's been in and out of the pits and he's not part of the lead battle. But Mark Dismore is the leader. Las Vegas 500 continues after this message and a word from our ABC station. The battle is for the lead. Mark Dismore, Scott Goodyear. Dismore, the 28 car. And it looks like he's going to head down the pit road. That's Goodyear coming to the pits in the Nortel number 6 car. These stops are right on schedule, though. Billy Boat headed in just a few seconds ago. There's Boat. That was not scheduled. Obviously, there's a problem because the sides are coming off the car, Jan.
Billy Boat is here, our pole sitter, and he has a problem with the electronics of the engine. What is happening is the TPS. What is happening? They're replacing that, hoping to get it going. Let's go to Gary.
And for Tony Stewart, remember, they changed back to the harder compound. They did not blister the softer set, but it cost him. They're now out of sequence with the leaders, but he's climbed back into the 8th position as of a moment ago, and now it moves up a couple of spots as the leaders pit. So Stewart's on the move on the board.
And here's your leader into the pits. You can see in the dark, some of these guys have had a problem finding the pits. Some of the crews have had flashing lights and all kinds of things on their pit board.
Well, you can see Dismore getting a tear-off off, trying to get a little better view of what's going to happen in this next segment. He had a tug on that thing a little bit, but he got it away.
They say that they've been sandblasting. Look at him ripped away, 15.3 on the stop. They say that the sand does blast the visors. Just turns it opaque.
Well, that you can see another tear-off just out that back view of the, and look at the dust. That's why you were having those tear-offs get fogged up on these guys.
So Mark Dismore comes back, and Robbie Buell assumes the lead of the race. Alfonso Giafoni into second, Vincenzo Sospiri to third, and Jeff Ward, the early leader, who then was penalized, has worked his way up to the 4th position.
You might have heard the radio conversation as Dismore came out of the pits. They were asking him to reset the fuel meters so they know exactly what's happening and when they need to stop again.
Robbie Buell, the Quaker State car, the leader with traffic just ahead. That's Jimmy Kite. But he's got Giafoni all over him. And here is Dismore coming through around first Salazar and then under Johnny Unser.
Well, he split those two boys and might have caught somebody a little bit off guard.
With regard to Salazar, that was a fight for position. Look at Cheever.
Cheever doing the same exact thing.
Back on the lead, Giafoni beginning to pound hard on Robbie Buell. nicknamed Robbie Batman. I'm not sure he's real happy with that nickname, but he needs to get that Batmobile pedaling a little bit. Oh, what a great race.
Well, the joker right now is Giafone. He's all over Robbie.
Whoa, here comes Giafone. He tries to force inside. Buell protects the position, but not for long. Giafone with a nose ahead, traffic ahead.
Well, that's pretty strong. You know, you can see he was able to get back after the throttle a lot quicker than Robbie and just accelerate by him coming off the corner.
Back in the field, Cheever. Looks like he just pulled up there for a second. Got up high right next to the wall, slowed it down, got it back under control.
Well, we've seen a lot of guys using a lot of territory out there. These guys are they're grabbing that racetrack and using it all up. There's been a lot of guys dusting that wall down on the exit of turn 4, and Eddie's probably making sure that those white walls don't slow the car down too much in the next couple laps.
That black number 19 car that you got a glimpse of for a moment there, really the first opportunity we've had to take a look at Stan Waddles. Comes out of the Formula Atlantic Series, SCCA championships. This is Cheever.
Yeah, that's Eddie. They just get out of the groove just a little bit, and the car just loses all grip, and he was lucky to keep that thing off the wall.
Eddie Cheever just up very close to the wall. Doesn't look like he caught it, though, but it did cost him a couple of spots as he dropped backwards. Leader of the race right now is Alfonso Giafone, average 193 miles an hour. Been clicking off laps up at 194 past couple of laps. In second place, it's Robbie Buell right now. We've had some cautions and taken a few cars out of the run. No injuries, though. But a couple of, at least one fairly significant name, last year's Indy champion, Buddy Lazier, was out very early on. Ari Leyendijk, this year's Indy champion, out just a few laps ago.
Well, Giafone got by Buell and just driving away from him right now.
Right at the halfway point now. 104 laps complete. And Billy Boat still suffering some problems, Jan.
He's come back on pit road, Paul. A.J. Foyt is looking on. They thought it was the TPS, which stands for throttle position sensor. That was not the problem. Now they're going to the distributor and to the injectors. But obviously, Billy Boat is losing valuable time, and his pole position obviously worked for a while, but now they're dropping way behind.
I think the next place they're going is to the casino, Paul.
Remember, the Conseco car originally assigned to Scott Sharp, who has now been given a medical clearance after a couple of head injuries this year. And he's going to begin testing almost immediately for next season.
Good battle here.
Nice fight here.
The old Navy car and
so Sperry and Goodyear. I'll tell you what, between traffic and just getting around with the multiple lanes on this track, this is a great speedway.
Well, it's a great speedway, and it's a lot of fun from a driver's standpoint, because working this traffic is what it's really all about. It's the competition, and I know it's got a smile on my face, and I'm just watching it right now. This is the stuff a driver really likes.
We watch this fight tracking that championship fight. We'll keep an eye on these guys. Able to pull away a bit there.
Well, there's a lot of good racing throughout the pack. It's just, it'd be nice if we could see it all the time, you know, but the camera only can show one thing at a time.
In that championship battle, Tony Stewart still in the position that keeps him in the fight and keeps him with the championship by 9 points. John Paul Jr. with those flames on his car comes up behind Stewart. Here comes Kenny Brett. Jan Beekes.
Well, an update on Davey Hamilton. They are running in 6th gear. They are trying to conserve the engine. The car is a little bit loose, but they are running conservative right now, making sure they can make the end of the race. So Davey Hamilton right now, and the conservative strategy, even though he has to be very aggressive here tonight, seems to be working for them. They're pretty happy down here with the A.J. Foyt power team.
You can see some of this racing action going on. If a guy gets caught in traffic and just has to roll out of the throttle a little bit, everybody jumps on him, and they really close the gap.
And you see, of course, different lines, and somebody will come up at one time, and he'll hop out. There's Rick Gallis watching his guys, Kenny Breck and Marco Gecko, and then it changes again in the next corner.
The Indy Racing League at Las Vegas. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Las Vegas, open 24 hours. Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil. True value. No matter what you need, help is just around the corner. And Oldsmobile and your authorized Aurora retailers.
And Davey Hamilton comes into the pits. This is one of the contenders in the championship fight. And it looks like he's got a problem.
Well, on the radio, he said it was all over the racetrack. So I don't know if he had a tire going down. They're changing all four right now.
Out of second place, here comes Robbie Buell. Alfonso Giafoni, the leader. Scott Goodyear is in third place, and here comes the leader. So most of the front of the order head for the pits were under green flag. Now, one of those cars was Sospiri. During the time we were away, he came in under the green flag from third, left the pits in 13th.
Well, we got a lot of the leaders in right now. Giafoni, a team that maybe doesn't have some of the experience of the Menard team. There goes Buell out of the pits now.
Robbie Buell on the way out. The leader, Giafoni.
They got problems. Left rear.
Look at that.
Left rear. They got a problem.
Struggling with it.
Boy, that's too bad. You know, when they're right up front, under the green.
Man, he's struggling to get it hooked up. Now he gets a clutch drop. Gary Gerald.
Robbie Buell got serviced in 13 seconds. Here's his teammate now, Tony Stewart, gliding to a stop. They've taken a very conservative approach. They've got a problem on the left rear. They can't get the left rear off. Everything else is being changed. Now they get the right rear off. This is not a good stop. Now both rears come off. Long stop for Stewart. Could a championship be hanging in the balance? Now he's underway.
Oh, we got trouble.
That's over 20 seconds.
21 committed.
Giafoni.
Just out of the pits.
Go ahead.
Now, remember the temperatures, despite the fact that this is the desert around Las Vegas, are very cool. We started the race down at 59. You have to assume it's dropped a bit since then. You come out of those pits on new tires or cold tires.
Well, we're not so sure. They had trouble in the pit, if you'll remember, with the tire change. So, exactly, that tire, it could have been a function of the pit stop.
Jan?
When Alfonso was leaving the pits, they had a problem in a miscue like you saw, and 2 pits up, Stefan Gregoire's team saw that the left rear tire was not tightened. They tried to wave him off. They tried to get the attention of Alfonso Giafoni's team, but obviously they could not get it done in time, so it was a miscue on the pit stop that caused that wheel to come off.
So with that, Giafoni, the leader, out of the race. He climbs out of the car uninjured. You know, the crews do work together like that, and it's exactly what you called, Tom.
Well, it's a tough day. Obviously, the team had done such a great job, and Alfonso was doing a super job on the racetrack. It's too bad that it has to end because of the pit problem.
Here's the tag end of it. The wheel already gone and bouncing its way down.
Well, look at this. Who's that? Is that...
Looked like
that's
Guthrie.
The 27 car was very fortunate to get by that.
Guthrie leading the rookie battle. There's Alfonso Giafoni. Nice young man.
Well, and he's okay. There's no injuries.
And what about Tony Stewart, Gary Gerald?
Well, the team obviously disappointed. The reason they had the problem, they just didn't get the air jack connection clean. The rear end didn't lift. They were trying to change both of those rear tires, and obviously you can't do it until you get the car in the air. Once they got the car in the air, it was routine, but they lost several very precious seconds. And if it had happened just a lap later, they would have been under yellow and had that luxury. So timing in a championship bid could be a factor before this day is over, or night, as the case may be. Jan?
Well, Sam Schmidt was involved in an earlier accident. There's been so much happening, we haven't had a chance to check up. First of all, you're okay, but what happened?
Yeah, I mean, we're great. I mean, this is the first time all year with the testing that we had a fantastic car. Me and Davey went around the last 10 laps before I went out, 200 miles an hour. And it was a great, great race. And we just got a little bit hard into one, just a little bit heavy in there and pushed up. Rode the gray quite a bit, just barely caught the right rear on the exit. And we just came to a stop in the grass. I think we probably could have just thrown a tire on and been okay, but then just sitting there, Jack caught me. You know, he was out of control. There's nothing he could do. But it's just really disappointing for the team because we needed to finish this race. And I think the racer just came alive in me because the car was so good and we needed to finish, but we really diced it up with people and just disappointing.
So is the track okay, or is there sand up high?
I tell you what, I mean, I thought the track was great. I mean, we didn't have a good car in practice, but we hit it right on the head, and the whole fuel load, we had great balance in the car, and I was ecstatic. So, I mean, the crew did a great job there. I never really got up there, passed once on the outside, but I thought it was fine.
Okay, well, at least you're okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.
And with those stops and those problems, look how this has changed. Tony Stewart has dropped behind Davey Hamilton. Not far enough to have a really adverse effect on his chance of the championship, but it moves it from 9 points down to 6 points. Battle's getting closer.
Well, 6 points isn't very much. I mean, you don't have to sneeze too loud to cause a serious problem from that point.
Well, they came in here with a 10-point separation, so Tony Stewart still in the championship position, but he's trying to going to have to fight a little bit harder to try and keep Davey Hamilton back, because just the slightest hiccup and it could be Hamilton's championship. Tim Allen, you know, big racing fan, big race driver. Tuesday by Dan Aykroyd as the leader comes in a brand new Soul Man, and then home improvement once again.
Goodyear in the pits. I don't know if it's just at the end of the segment that he's trying to top off the fuel, or why he's in at this point. You can hear the rev limiter cut in, the cruise control to keep him from over speeding that limit down there in the pits.
So how was the stop from your point of view, Jan?
Well, it's pretty exciting. It was 9.72 seconds, and they put 2 turns of wing into the front. So obviously he's been having some push, and hopefully this will put the car right for Scott Goodyear.
Well, that's a pretty major change, two turns, especially this far into the race. But the good news, he's going to be able to cool the clutch, because there was a lot of RPM as he exited that pit.
And all of this gives the lead back to Mark Dismore, with Jim Guthrie in second place and Robbie Buell in third. But Dismore is going to relinquish that lead here shortly.
There's one car on pit lane.
Letting Mark know what's ahead, what to expect down the pits. You can see it a little darker down there. He wants to know where they are.
Well, it's an interesting strategy here for this team that probably maybe doesn't have as much experience, but why he did pit the lap before, it's going to put him behind all the cars that pitted earlier, and it could make it a little more difficult to get back to the front.
And the order to reset the flow gauge. And Mark Dismore in and out of the pits.
With the wing adjustment also.
Still under the yellow, 122 laps complete. Relinquish the lead, though, to Jim Guthrie. Back at Las Vegas, Jim Guthrie was the leader of the race, and we went green just briefly, and then, well, a problem. Eddie Cheever. Keep an eye on him in the lower right corner.
You can see the smoke come out of the back of the thing. The motor's blown up right there, right in front of the leading group there, and fortunately it caused no problem for any of the leaders, but everything's smoking, all 4 tires, the motor, and probably both ears.
Of course, it did bring out the yellow. And that sent the leader into the pits, Jim Guthrie, and turned the lead of the race over to Kenny Breck, followed by Robbie Buell and Eliseo Salazar. In the championship fight, well, Stewart still has it, but not by much. In the rest of the championship fight, Cheever, Lyondike, Lazier. Cheever's third in the points, Lyondike was fourth, Lazier was fifth, and Calkins was eighth in the points. They're all out of the race, so who knows what the changes are going to be there. Go back to the pits.
Well, Jim Guthrie has been in and out of the pits from the lead. They decided to come in now. They originally were thinking about going longer, seeing if they can make it a 3-stop race, and realized no, in fact, they could not do that. Decided to come onto pit road under the caution, put 4 tires on, and no changes. Kenny Breck, who's right next door, talked to Rick Gallis. They said he is running very, very well. They're pleased with the car, and he hopes that he'll be able to go further towards the front. Well, he can't go any further. He's our leader now.
So Breck, Buell, Salazar, Dismore. Jimmy Kite is 5th place. Jeff Ward 6th. Then Goodyear, Guthrie, Hamilton, and Guerrero. That's the top 10. Pace car off.
Green flag, green flag.
208 laps of scheduled distance. Boy, good by Kenny Breck. What a great start he got.
A good start. Davey Hamilton back there in about 4th or 5th position had a pretty good run, but looks like it's slowing down. I thought I saw some smoke there as we came off of turn 3 or 4.
Salazar works on Buell for second. Takes second. Dismore sits behind Buell. Look at that lead that he got. Now the Menard cars. Gary Gerald.
An update, Paul, on the Menard cars. Robbie Buell has got 3 concerns. He's got a bit of a push in the handling department. He's also got a communication problem in that he cannot hear the report. I'm sorry, the crew can't hear him when he gets on the radio. And the third concern is the fact that his fuel metering device is not working in the cockpit. Meanwhile, Tony Stewart in the race for the championship had to make another pit stop. Tires were vibrating, so he dropped more positions, but Larry Curry says we're having all kinds of problems, but I still think we're okay.
Well, that Tabasco car is Jeff Ward trying to get around Jimmy Kite, the old Navy car. The leader slows.
He's out of the groove. I don't know if he's slowed down or just, oh, he's wiggling. You see the car moving back and forth. Hard to say what that is, but he's just trying to get through traffic, get to the bottom of the racetrack, and find the pits.
The car over. 10-4, pit this lap. Pit this lap.
Kenny Breck kicks it down to Gary. He told the pits what had happened. They said just bring it on in right now, of course.
Is it the chassis or the motor, Kenny?
What's that?
Well, you can see how long it took him to find an opening to get to the bottom of the racetrack, and going very slowly. There's no yellow, so that's going to be a tough break for Kenny.
So Robbie Buell now inherits that second place, and Salazar picks up the lead. Mark Dismore is third. Jan Beekes.
Kenny Breck is going to try and make his way back to pit road. Obviously, he's lost valuable time. They think maybe he's got a tire going down, so they're going to put 4 tires on the car. He's on his way here as we speak. We will try and see if there's anything that looks obvious as far as the tires themselves. Can't tell which one might be down. Oh, now a crew member at the back of the car says there's a broken part on the car, and they're telling him to shut it down.
Now Kenny Breck's day is over. Too late to try to repair a suspension piece, if that's what it is. In the meantime, Ward was working on Kite in that battle for 4th place.
Well, we got a good battle here. There's a lot of good battles on this racetrack, and Jimmy Kite, who had a real tough accident here not too long ago, said his confidence was a little shaky, but as the more time he got in the racetrack, the stronger he felt.
Leader of the race is Eliseo Salazar, followed by Robbie Buell, Mark Dismore, then Jimmy Kite and Jeff Ward. This is the 6th place car number 6. Scott Goodyear. His progress through the field. We've seen some great racing here. Many different lines, Tom.
Well, many different lines and many different leaders. We've had about 10 different lead changes. the many lines come because of traffic, Paul. It's so crowded out there. They started 31 cars. That's a lot of cars in this mile-and-a-half track for Indy. And you just got to go where they ain't is the bottom line. If they're in your line, you've got to find a different line and get the job done.
If they get slower, then you get moments like we just saw with Scott Goodyear. 10th different leader in this run is Eliseo Salazar.
Again, listen to the motor as we go through here.
Don't forget, ABC's coverage of college football continues Saturday. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Call to your cable operator for information on games available on pay-per-view. Jimmy Kite, Jeff Ward. The battle is for 4th. They've been at this battle for about 12 laps now.
Jeff is real tight with him, trying to get an air brake, and but Jimmy's able to drive her down in the corner a little bit harder.
An air brake, is that like a draft?
It's a lot like a draft, yeah.
Give me two.
It's a new terminology for air brake.
Oh, here comes Wardy, and there goes Wardy. So Jeff Ward moves forward into 4th around Jimmy Kite. Eliseo Salazar is still the leader. We'll be back with more after this message and a word from our ABC station. Paul Page back in Las Vegas, 150 laps complete, 208 scheduled. Salazar the leader. Though Mark Dismore just grabbed 2nd place away from Robbie Buell a lap ago. So the fight continues all up at the front of the field. In the fight for the championship, well, it is still Tony Stewart who is on his way to that championship banquet in Indianapolis on the 21st of November.
Well, that gap is tightening, though. There's a few more spots difference between those two right now than there has been any other time in this race.
Kenny Breck, you saw, he had a problem, came out of the race. Jan Vikas, what's the story?
He's out of the car now, and obviously it's a little hard to hear down here. It looks like what you don't want to do, Kenny, is lead this race. When we have a leader, then you have a problem. What broke for you?
Yeah, it was... we had a good run, you know, and the Monsoon Gallus car ran great, but we ran out of drive shafts.
Was the drive shaft that broke?
Yeah, I think so.
Was that a common problem? Have you had that in testing at all?
No, we haven't had that before, you know. It's been an eventful season for us, but, you know, we learned a lot, and I learned a lot, especially about ovals, and strong team, Gallus team, and Monsoon W, and all great sponsors, and hope we'll be back next year and start where we ended this year.
Well, we hope to see you next year as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
We might have caught a little bit during that interview, Salazar trying to get by some traffic out there, and he had some gestures. I don't know if it was for the flagman or for the guy in front of him, but he didn't look very happy about the traffic situation.
I think he was trying to get him to give the move-over flag to a couple of those cars, let him know that the leader's back there. Salazar, with an interesting history in the IRL, was involved in a serious accident in the practice for the very first IRL race a year ago at Walt Disney World. A piece of suspension actually poking him through the leg. Made a very strong comeback. Leads here. Dismore is 2nd. Scott Goodyear, keep an eye on him as he's closing on Jeff Ward, the number 6 Nortel car. That's Goodyear, right side of your screen. And there is Jeff Ward. Average speed to this point, 193 miles an hour. They're flying 10 leader changes. 10 leaders, 11 changes. Blistering pace when you think about it.
Well, it's a fast racetrack. It's cool out. Conditions are pretty ideal for these things, and got the racing's been great.
Don't you love it at night? I love night racing.
Who's that down on the inside?
It looks like.
Yeah, Johnny Unser. They've had a lot of trouble. It brought out a yellow, though.
Well, Johnny Unser, apparently with an engine, they want to make sure there's not too much oil on the track. They go yellow. Johnny Rutherford brings out the pace car. Salazar will answer the yellow as the leader, followed by Dismore, Buell, Ward, and Goodyear. Here's what happened, Tom.
Well,
an engine.
Yeah, the motor, that's Is that one of the Infinities?
One of the three.
Well, they've made good progress this year. They've, but they still have a way to go, obviously.
Tice Carlson has one of the Infinities as well. Johnny Unser, okay. You always worry with these cars, especially. You remember at Indy 500, Robbie Gordon, when he had a problem that sloshed some hot fluid, boiling fluid, into the cockpit. Burned his leg. Here is Stefan Gregoire. Not seen much of the blue car this race. He's currently 12th. Just take your time underneath the yellow. Field comes around. Robbie Buell, the Quaker State car. We're watching to see if Davey Hamilton makes it into the pits again. Indications are that he might be heading down for some Norris service from A.J. Foyt. Currently runs in 8th place. And Tony Stewart runs in 12th place. So Tony Stewart is still where he needs to be to take the championship. But the point spread is still very, very slim. Let's look at it for you. Tony Stewart 12th. Hamilton 8th. 6 points at the end of the season. Whoa.
Well, it's getting closer. I think it might actually get closer before the night's over. This is going to be interesting. We're at a spot in the race where if they fuel now, they might be able to go the distance. So it's going to be real close with a 44, 45 lap window.
And remember, when you think of Stewart, how many races he has not been able to finish. Let's get an update on what we expect running to the end. Start with Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, it's been an adventure for Larry Curry, John Menard, and the team that backs Tony Stewart. They've had a myriad of problems, including a set of tires that was vibrating. They thought they had a blister on the right front. That was not the case. Each time they've changed tires trying to find it, but they still have got a very bad push in the car. Over my shoulder, the crew is waving on pit road. They're expecting Tony Stewart as the pits are opened up. His teammate Robbie Buell is also here. Davey Hamilton's crew is also awaiting him. A flurry of activity now. Jan?
Well, Davey Hamilton behind me is also set up as well. He's on his way in as we see Robbie Buell come by. Hamilton comes to a stop. So we've got the championship contenders in the pits at the moment. We're looking to see if there's going to be any changes for Hamilton. A little bit slow on the left rear. Could slow him down somewhat. Hamilton is now down. Let's go to Stewart. Gary?
We watched the crew. Remember, they had problems with the air jack on the last stop. This time they got it up. They make the change. They make wing changes up front as well. They want to get rid of that push, but they're still having difficulty at the right rear. It's under yellow, but it's a long stop, and now Stewart gets going.
Tony Stewart still in the catbird seat on the points.
10-4.
It's the last word from Larry Curry, his crew chief. And when we come back, we should be ready to go green flag again in Las Vegas. Paul Page with Tom Sneva at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the track that has created a great race here. In fact, most of the races running on this surface have been spectacular. We should be going back to green flag racing, and I'll tell you what, it looks like it's going to be a very interesting run to the finish. 200 laps scheduled, 161 complete. There is the running order. Championship battle is still undetermined. Stewart's been having some problems, but so is Hamilton. They are off the pace, but they're still battling. Well, what about the fuel loads, Gary?
Well, Larry Curry just told us they need 6 laps of yellow to make it to the distance on this tank of fuel, 35 gallons. They've got 2 of the necessary 6. Robbie Buell, who's running third, meanwhile, thinks it may need 5 laps, according to John Menard. They definitely need another yellow if they're going to get to the end on this tank of fuel.
You know what? Let's think about that. That gets him down to just a few laps from the finish. If he runs out of fuel, he ain't going to make it into the pits under tow or anything by the finish, and they won't go yellow for it. Unless, of course, he stays on the track.
Oh, we got a slow guy that's causing traffic problems.
Way up high. Everybody clogs up behind. And look at the fight for the lead down there. Don't worry about that red car. It's not a factor as long as he stays off the wall, but Salazar got everybody climbing on him. Now it sorts out.
Well, the white car down low caused a lot of stress for a lot of these guys at the start-finish line, and makes for some fun watching.
Salazar, there he is, the yellow, green, and red car with Mark Dismore right behind him. That's John Paul Jr. just ahead of them. You ride with Mark Dismore, the Learjet car.
Well, in front there is John Paul. Now, he's off a couple laps, but it looks like they've got the car working pretty well right now because Salazar's having a little stress trying to get by this guy. In the meantime, Mark gives him the opportunity to maybe try to close this gap.
John Paul Jr. leaves some room. He runs 14th, obviously off the lead lap. In fact, almost 6 laps behind. Now they begin in the pits to figure the fuel loads. Let's assume they stay green. 165th lap is complete. We're working 166. We go to 208. Well, Buell would probably have to be in the pits about 10 laps before that. What about Davey Hamilton's fuel load, Jan Bigas?
A chance to talk to Tommy LeMans, and he says that if they stay in 6th gear and they stay conservative, they can make it to the end. Obviously, they would also like to have some yellow flag to be sure, but they're the ones, like Tom said in the opening, they can gamble, and they're going to.
Robbie Buell comes around Jeff Ward, picks up 4th place. But remember, he doesn't have enough fuel. The team seems to think they're going to need at least 2 yellows to get him to the checkered flag without refueling.
Well, I don't know about 2 yellows, but at least 2 laps of yellow. And
2 laps of yellow. Thank you, Tom.
And it appears as though the Menard cars maybe are a little bit more fuelish than some of the others. Oh, that's Ward. The Tabasco cars gotten less hot than it was earlier.
Well, it heated up for Roberto Guerrero. He had to yank it to the right just to get around that. Jimmy Kite, Marco Greco. Battles a bit back in the field. Don't forget tomorrow night, NFL Monday Night Football. Dallas Cowboys take on the NFC rival Washington Redskins. Monday Night Football. And, of course, Time Cop, destination Chicago, 1928. Here's a report coming in now on the Dismore crew. They think they can run it to the finish. He's currently 2nd.
Well, Tuck's pretty cheap right now, and that might be some of the psychological ploys that that they hope the other teams are going to become aware of.
Greco and Kite. You know, it's interesting how they do that. You know, they don't want to not tell the truth, but they also don't want to let you know where you really are in a fuel load run. Even on the 2-way radio, since everybody monitors them, and will continue to, assuming that Congress doesn't change that. There's apparently some talk about that. They even will put out false information there so the other crews don't know what's going on. The Menard pits, they keep an eye on it. Salazar leads it. The finish with you now in the Las Vegas 500K, 186 complete. Eliseo Salazar is the leader. Mark Dismore is right there, though, battling, as is Goodyear, Buell, and Jim Guthrie. Jim Guthrie will pick up the Rookie of the Year honors in the November 21st banquet. Well, they distribute $1.6 million, the biggest part of it, to the champion, which still is Tony Stewart, if they stay where they are. Tony Stewart is, in fact, picking up an advantage because as cars fall out, that's helping protect his ability to stay up and close to Hamilton. But remember, too, finishing the race is going to be pretty important.
Well, there's Davey Hamilton going by Tony Stewart. So Tony's probably on cruise right now. He's probably disappointed that they couldn't get the car any closer, but a lot of these teams have been chasing these chassis pretty hard as far as adjustments, because every pit stop, they seem to be making a lot of wing adjustments, either trying to get it close or get that balance a little bit better to gain some speed.
The leader, Eliseo Salazar, driving for Andy Evans. Jan Bikas, can he go to the finish?
Yes, he can go to the finish, and they're very happy with the handling of that car, with the exception of a slight push, which seems to get a little bit worse while he is in traffic. Keep in mind that Team Scandia has never won one of these events, so obviously they're very, very nervous down here, but they're also excited, thinking this might be the day. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Jan, major concerns for Tony Stewart in that championship. Right now he's listed in 12th place. Hamilton is running in 7th. Larry Curry just told me it looks like we're going to be 3 laps short. If that's the case, and we're inside 17, 18 laps to go, he may have to come onto pit road for a splash. It could be huge. Davey Hamilton's crew, meanwhile, says they're okay. They should be able to go the distance.
There you saw the top 4. IRL at Las Vegas, 17 to go. There's Davey Hamilton. You know, Tom, though, it's not only that Stewart's going to have to go on a pit road. Hamilton's going to have to make something happen.
Well, he is, and it looks like the car's working a little bit better, but obviously he's running out of time, and you know, it's a tough season. It's a long season for him to come down to this kind of battle. It's been fun to watch.
Davey Hamilton needs to be at least a full 9 ahead of Stewart. And he's going to have to work up. The problem being, of course, that Hamilton has to face is that Stewart is currently in 12th. Behind Stewart is John Paul Jr. in 13th and Billy Rowe.
Well,
Shank and that's really pretty much Giafone and Groff, who are 39 laps behind the lead, but he doesn't have any place to lose to.
What you're trying to say, I think, Paul, is it doesn't really matter
tell me.
if Stewart stops or not. You know, he can stop for a splash and go. He's a couple laps up on the next position, so he's not going to lose that much.
Fight for second, Mark Dismore, Scott Goodyear. Salazar just about a second ahead. These speeds, that translates to 200 yards.
You see, here's Goodyear in 3rd spot. You see that 33.3? That's been there all day. You know, racing in Las Vegas, I'm not sure that's not the over and under in the next Bears game, Paul, but it's probably a fuel indicator.
That's what they're looking for on the dash. When they see that number, they know they've used that much fuel, and probably time to think about hitting the pits pretty quickly. Average speed of the race, 144.05. 13 to go. Counting down on the race, counting down on the championship. We look at the leader, Eliseo Salazar. He's never won in these cars. Great history out of Formula One and sports cars. He carries the Chilean flag, his home country. He's from Santiago on the front nose of the car.
Well, that car's pretty stout right now. He's ran a tremendous race. This is a team that's sort of owned and operated by a guy by the name of Andy Everett. He sort of stirred up the bushes a little bit in racing here over the last couple of years, buying some sanctioning bodies and doing some things that starting to get the attention of the Penske's and the Francis of the racing world.
Aurora dominating the run here, dominated the qualifying. Tony Stewart. What's he going to do, Gary?
That's the million-dollar question. A radio conversation monitored Stewart indicating to Curry something is wrong. I don't know what. Curry said, just keep going. And time continues to tick away. We're coming up to the last 10 laps, Paul.
Boy, this championship comes right down to the wire.
Well, look at Scott Goodyear. Goodyear underneath.
Not there.
But Scott's a little quicker. He's just got to find a spot to get the job done.
Thing to be faster, yet another to get around.
Well, you get turbulence off these cars. That, you know, when you're running 200 miles an hour down into these corners, you've got to get some separation, whether it's lateral or vertically. You've got to separate yourself from that other car and time the acceleration off the corner.
Now look at this run, Tom. When you think of this year with the IRL, they started brand new chassis.
We got a yellow, trouble. Oh, big upside down. Wow.
Yellow flag will come out on that one. With 9 to go.
The yellow wheel looks like Guerrero.
Let's hope he's okay. Safety trucks are rolling.
There's a lot of parts and pieces that aren't connected to each other.
Stewart
right
goes by on the backstretch. Here comes the ambulance. Fortunately, no fire. Looks
There's
like
Guerrero crawling out from underneath it.
He's all right.
Wow.
Little shaken up. But Roberto Guerrero climbs out from under that battered and broken car.
A little shaken up would be an understatement right now.
He probably doesn't even know where he is. That'll bring out the yellow. And that accident being what it is, it might be hard to get that car out of there. Here's what happened.
The pieces are small enough, it won't be hard to get the car out of the way. Wow, whoa. Look at that thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, what happened?
Pitched it in the air.
Well, he got the crossover road. There's a piece of pavement that went right through that grass area. He got down on the infield onto the grass and then clipped the road that entered the infield area and that tripped the car and got it upside down.
On-board camera. This is Roberto.
He's heading down into turn 1 right now.
Happened off of 2.
Oh, wow. Look at that thing pointing straight in the air.
Well, that was Greco.
Well, he slowed dramatically, and Roberto didn't quite catch it quick enough, and then he caught some other stuff.
Yeah, and that road just starts flipping him. You know, Nellis Air Force Base, home of the demonstration team, the Air Force Thunderbirds, right across the street. They probably said, "Go ahead, just go ahead and apply power and get her out of here."
Yeah, that might have showed
straight up.
That might have showed up on the radar.
Oh. The Air Force Base, by the way, has a lot of volunteers over here. They're working to help at the track with security and other things, and they're doing it all to give money to charity.
Well, it's a real testament to these cars. You can see the cockpit area is pretty well intact. There's not much left around that area, but for Roberto to crawl out from underneath that thing, that's...
201 laps complete, 208 scheduled. They're rushing to try and get all the debris off of the backstretch so we can go back green before the end of the race. Salazar had a bit of a lead. He's lost it now. Mark Dismore, Scott Goodyear, Robbie Buell, and Jim Guthrie all will close tight up behind them, but it looks like that championship is Stewart's.
Well, there's still a lot of doubt left in this race, however. You know, if we get this restart going, a lot of things happen in positions that's known to be changed on various restart situations. You can see the wreckage there, not much left.
Oh, look at that devastated race car. Gary Gerald?
John Menard is here. John, do you think this race is going to end under yellow from what you've seen on that monitor?
I don't think so. I think they're going to get cleaned up and try to go for a green flag finish, but...
In your mind, is the championship still up for grabs, or do you think you've got it?
Oh, I think it's still up for grabs. Anything can happen here, you know.
That's happened to you on more than one occasion in some 25 years in this sport, hasn't it?
Yeah, it happened more than once, unfortunately, and I just hope it doesn't happen here tonight. But I think they're going to have a green flag finish.
Well, we're down to that last handful of laps, and John Menard is very concerned. He's not conceding a thing yet, Jan.
Well, another owner who's very concerned is Andy Evans. You have a chance to get the first victory for Team Scandia. You don't want to see a caution. You don't want to see a big wreck. Roberto's okay, but it could benefit you. This could be the first win.
I want it to be green. I want to win under the green. I want to win for Dick Simon and Eliseo. They both have tried real hard. Dick, his whole career, this will be his first IndyCar win.
It looks like you're going to get your wish. We've just been told one more lap to green. You're going to get to shoot it out. We hope it goes your way.
Thanks very much.
All right, let's, as we get ready to go green, go back to that onboard camera with Roberto Guerrero. We'll go slow motion here.
Again, the car right in front of Roberto slows dramatically, and Roberto just doesn't catch it quick enough. He almost gets by, but the right front and the left rear come together.
Oh, look at the nose come up, up, up. And Roberto's still trying to steer it.
Is that great? It's a natural instinct from a driver's standpoint.
I get this thing on the ground, I'm going back to the pits.
He's probably got the brakes on, too, but they ain't doing him any good.
Unbelievable. Good news is that Roberto Guerrero's wiggled out from under that car, and the San Juan Capistrano native is probably going to get a checkup from Dr. Bach and the team, the medical crew, but he appeared to be okay. May not remember the accident. That's one of those like you in turn 2 at the Speedway. I don't think you had a clue until they showed you the footage. You said, was that me?
No, I four-putted a lot of greens after that one.
Green's ready to come out. 203 laps complete.
Green flag, green flag.
They didn't get much of a run on him. Goodyear got a little bit of a run on Dismore, but not enough to get the job done.
Well, now Goodyear tries to work on Dismore. At the same time, Buell tries to close in, but Salazar pulling away.
You can hear Scott just have to roll out of the throttle a little bit.
We're going yellow again.
We got more wall contact.
Rush with the wall this time. That's the car right there.
Mark Shank.
Mike Shank up against the wall.
We got yellow? No yellow.
23, get to the bottom. Get to the bottom. The leaders are behind.
IRL command channel. All the crews have to listen to that.
Car number 7, next time by.
Eliseo Salazar comes off the corner. He'll see that white flag. Tony Stewart's going to breathe a little easier, too. Comes down to the final minutes, the final couple of miles to wrap up the championship.
Well, we got to pass. Dismore is either out of fuel, possibly. Goodyear and Buell both go by.
Dismore slows suddenly. While the leader gets the white flag, here goes Eliseo Salazar. His final lap, his final mile and a half. Goodyear comes to second. Buell to third. Dismore still losing ground. The final race of the year. Eliseo Salazar becomes a new winner in the IRL and caps a great season, while Tony Stewart takes the championship. Andy Evans, boy, they're happy about that. They've got to be celebrating down in the Menard pits as well with Tony Stewart as the champion.
Eliseo Salazar climbs from the car. Today is your day. Tony Stewart wins the championship, but it's your first win and first for Team Scandia. What made the difference in this race?
Well, I think the preparation, John, we've been preparing, very hard the whole season. We've been testing beforehand with Goodyear. We've been, working with the Rouch guy, with the engines, and everybody's, is really focused. I've been training hard, I've been eating the correct stuff, and so it's nothing more than the right preparation.
Now, you're a guy that's had a lot of adversity, injuries, and so on. It's got to be that much more gratifying to come back here and win.
Absolutely. I mean, this year I had the unfortunate of breaking an engine and hitting the wall again in this new wall. I broke my back. I had to come back for Indy. And, it was really hard to come back from 2 car accidents. But to come back this way, maybe I could do it again.
Congratulations.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Eliseo Salazar perseveres. Unofficial results, the standings. Salazar was 1.2 seconds ahead of second place, Scott Goodyear. 6 cars were on the leader lap at the finish, and 15 of the 31 that started, well, they were still running at the finish. We look through the last of the unofficial results, the last race of the season for the IRL. And then, too, there are standings to consider in the race summary itself. Average speed of the race, owing to the yellows, was 193.7 miles an hour. 10 lead changes, different leaders, 13 different lead changes. So there's the summary of the race as we've seen it, and here is the champion, Gary Gerald.
Tony Stewart, have you ever worked harder to win a championship than in this race tonight?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I've never felt like a monkey on a football so long in my life. The car pushed all night, and, I think we had a shock that must have went away or something, because no matter what, we couldn't do it.
How about it?
You're sweating an awful lot now, baby.
I got a cold bath.
Better you than me.
Yes.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the vibration in the tires and one thing or another and all the little gremlins that kept showing up.
Yeah, there was once fairly early in the race that I was just trying to be a nice guy and make sure that I stayed out away from traffic. And
this has got to be the best championship of all those you've won by far. Agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing that's most gratifying about this is all these guys with Team Menard. I mean, everyone with Glidden and Quaker State and John Menard, Larry Curry, Bill Martin, John O'Gara, all the guys at the shop. I mean, these guys are the ones that gave me the race cars all year to do what I've done, and I'm the one that gets the spotlight on it, but these guys are the ones that deserve this championship.
He didn't dominate tonight, but he's won a championship.
and takes the most important crown of his career by a 9-second margin over Davey Hamilton, 9-point margin. Now, Scott Goodyear made the biggest jump. He moved up from 9th to 5th. Here's the schedule for 1998 for the IRL, and we'll start off on ABC on the 24th of January at Walt Disney World Speedway. The rest of the dates, it's been one terrific season in the IRL with Tony Stewart coming home on top of the order and taking the championship. I'm Paul Page for Gary Gerald, Jan Vikas, and Tom Sneva. Thanks so much for joining us this year. The ABC racing season has come to a close. We'll see you next year at Walt Disney World.
The Indy Racing League at Las Vegas. This ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Las Vegas, open 24 hours. Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil. True value, no matter what you need, help is just around the corner. And Oldsmobile and your authorized Aurora retailers. Tomorrow on ABC's Monday Night Football is one of the NFL's great rivalries, Troy